Hello and welcome to the Medicine Box. Today we're diving into a subject that often feels more like science fiction than medicine: longevity. The quest to live not just longer but healthier. Recent headlines have pushed this conversation into the mainstream. Indian entrepreneur Dipender Goyal has invested $25 million of his personal wealth into a new scientific initiative, Continue Research, whose first hypothesis suggests that gravity itself may accelerate aging. Hence, an increase in average brain blood flow could help. Globally as well, longevity has become a frontier of bold ideas and even bolder spending. Biohacker Brian Johnson pours over $2 million a year into reversing biological age. Investor Peter Thiel calls death a technical problem waiting to be solved. The X Prize Health Span competition has put up $101 million for innovations that can improve healthy aging. And in March 2025, even the Vatican convened a summit on the future of longevity, underscoring how universal and urgent this topic has become. Meanwhile, research continues to advance rapidly, with new work emerging on drug repurposing and multi-drug interventions that could slow age-related decline. All of this, the capital, the curiosity, and the controversy, raises fundamental questions. Can we safely manipulate our bodies, our biology? Who will actually benefit? And what ethical boundaries must we respect as we push the limits of human lifespan? To help us unpack these ideas, we have with us Dr. Hemant Thakkar and Dr. Sahil Kohli joining in for this discussion. Well, Dr. Thakkar, I'm going to start with you, and let's begin with the headline that everybody is discussing about the fact that this gravity hypothesis by Dipender Goyal's research company, that anti-gravity can actually help in terms of reducing your age or reducing aging and helping in longevity.
I like the term hypothesis because it is a good hypothesis, but still a hypothesis. There is some truth that vascular health and brain health go hand in hand, and that if you stand up, the cerebral circulation drops by 10 to 20%, or if you have diseases like high blood pressure or diabetes, you compromise cerebral circulation, which can cause cognitive decline. But where it remains a hypothesis is that there are no biomarkers to this effect. And the inversion phenomena, even done by NASA, does not show anything to prove that the cerebral blood flow is the lifeline of longevity. So one has to look at it carefully. I agree, this is a good hypothesis he has come up with, and one needs more facts.
Okay. Well, Dr. Kohli, this entire conversation about anti-gravity ties into the fact about the discussion about longevity, which is actually picking up so much pace. So when we talk about longevity, Dr. Kohli, what exactly does it mean to doctors such as you?
Longevity means adding life to your years. It doesn't mean adding years to your life. So the good quality of life where you are doing everything on your own, not dependent on others, able to travel yourself, able to cycle yourself, and do most of the things yourself, that is actually good longevity.
Okay. But Dr. Thakkar, when we talk about that, what does longevity mean to you? Because now we have a whole host of people who are almost celebrities becoming longevity advocates, experts. So what, according to you, is longevity?
See, science tells you that living long is not enough alone. You must live well. It's not the quantity of life alone, but the quality of life. If you have life backed with good, vibrant, holistic and science-backed lifestyle maneuvers, which do not give you cognitive decline or chronic illnesses, that's it. If you have a decade longer, but in that decade you're struck with cognitive decline, chronic illnesses, and you have to fight that last decade of life, it is of no use. So a decade long versus a little less but quality, that is, you have to change and chase health span, not lifespan. Health span over lifespan.
Okay. Well, just talking about that, there is data which shows that lifestyle changes itself can add around 12 to 14 years, disease-free years to a person's life. So what are possibly the three most evidence-backed changes when it comes to lifestyle in order to possibly extend your health span?
Excellent. Your data is correct. What goes in from the lips, what you eat and drink is most important. That's one. How much you can walk away from aging, which means exercise. Exercise in any form, isotonic, isometric. And three, the mind over the body. If you sleep well, you have a relaxed mind. If you interact, you have positivity. If you're happy, you have a healthy and heartful, long, lengthy, happy life. So you must look for those three things. And if you adopt these three lifestyle changes, that's the best way. Of course, there is a genetic component which is there. But you can override this genetic component and live quality life, may not be longer, by practicing these three golden rules of lifestyle changes.
Okay. Well, Dr. Kohli, I'm just going to toss that over to you as well, because in your practice, in your practice itself, you must be probably seeing a lot of patients with early onset dementia, early onset Alzheimer's. So in that sense, how much of it is possibly lifestyle related? How much of it is genetic? And what do you tell your patients who are aging in terms of the best habits that they should probably adopt?
What we have to understand is that aging is a normal process. So once a patient of dementia comes to us, we usually try to see, is there a reversible cause of dementia which is sitting there? So there are some vitamins like vitamin B12 deficiencies, vitamin D deficiency. Some people who have other deficiencies can have, dementia. But more oftenly, the people who have comorbidities like hypertension, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and who are obese, they are more likely to get it. On the other hand, if we are physically active, as Dr. Thakur has clearly told, we are checking on what we are eating. We are not ordering food from outside. We are eating home cooked food. We are being physically active. We are catching enough sleep, and we are having a good social, circle which motivates to do things better, like maybe going for a walk together, going for a cycling session together. That usually adds to your dementia prevention or aging prevention.
But how much of it is probably lifestyle related? When somebody who is, say, 70 years old, 75 years old comes to you, you see that they have early onset dementia. How much of that is possibly what they've done in their early years, say in their 40s or 50s or maybe even 30s?
See, that is also very important because see, the diseases which we see in 60s usually start in 30s. If somebody continues to have overweight in their 20s or 30s, they are more likely to have hypertension and diabetes. If somebody is not being physically active and being sedentary, that again adds to inflammation in the body and overall leads to less cognitive uh, uh, you know uh, ability. So those people who continue to have obesity, don't take care of their hypertension, don't take care of their blood pressure, they are more likely to have it.
Okay. Well, Dr. Thakur, just coming to you with regards to that, 80% of chronic diseases, again, according to data, shows that it begins in the 20s and 30s. So when we are talking about longevity, when should we actually start thinking seriously about longevity?
The seeds of aging are sown as early as the second and third decade of life, because there is erosion of organs, of cells, of hormones, and everything else. So, which is why you have to practice regularity, punctuality, limited indulgence, and a disciplined exercise, diet, sleep regime. That doesn't mean that I'm sounding like a priest who's going to only preach. You do have lacunae where you can have the sporadic bursts, what we call a diabetic date in our diabetics. But all in all, you have to follow the rule of lifestyle. If you start early, a stitch in time gains 9. So you have to start early So you don't bring on the diabetes, the hypertension, the lipids, which are accelerators of aging.
But who's thinking about all this when in their 20s and 30s?
We have to think. We are today talking not only for our 70-year-old citizens. We are talking to them so that they can advise their 20 and 30 and 40-year-old relatives or friends to begin early. Because if you want to reap the fruits, you must have a good harvest and a good sowing season.
So what should they start practicing in their 20s and 30s, or what should they refrain from?
You know, Saturday nights in our country means party, late night, binge, everything else. Saturday night in some countries means sleeping early, so you can go rowing, you can go camping, you can go sporting the next day. So you have to cultivate this art of sleeping well to do physical exercise, of eating healthy. That doesn't mean you don't party. And if you have good interaction with happy, healthy, not chasing target lifeline, that sows the seeds and you begin early.
But how much of this is probably genetic, aging?
Definitely 20%, maybe 30%. Because if you have the genes passed on to you, which tell you that, look, in your family, this is the programming of the chromosomes, then you have a 70% chance of altering your lifestyle to not pamper the bad genes, but to play to the gallery of the other genes and slowly work towards lengthening it.
That just brings, it just sort of gives me an example of cardiovascular diseases as well. A lot of people have genetic cardiovascular risks as well. But there is this whole condition of VO2 max, which is basically trying to see the endurance that you have in, or the maximum amount of oxygen you intake when you are exercising. Have you looked into that? Are patients talking about it?
In fact, you will find that the knowledgeable ones and the enlightened firms are all inculcating gyms, health programs. At one of the leading media houses where I am attached to, they have a canteen which gives health food. The servings are all programmed from that point of view. At offices where I am advising, they have a gym in the office. So if you can't walk and work out in the evening after a long day, you get that 30 minutes in the daytime. So you can begin. It's not impossible. Where there is a will, there is a way. And if the will tells you that you want to burn the candle longer, then you need to work brighter on the candle so you can enjoy longevity.
Well, Dr. Kohli, just wanted to come to you about preventive testing, because when you speak to, most of your peers or your friends, they say, oh, nothing's wrong. I don't need to get any sort of preventive testing done. Hum to theek hai, until something goes wrong. What do you tell your patients? What is the checklist of, say, preventive testing that you subscribe to your patients, and at what age would you prescribe it, rather?
See, we have to see the diseases like hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol. They are very important and they are not picked up. So there is a saying about hypertension that only 50% of the people who have hypertension, that they know they have hypertension, out of which half of them do not even get treated and half of them are undertreated. So conditions like hypertension, if there is a family history, and even if there is no family history, they have to be regularly checked. So at least once a year, there should be a checkup where we check about how is our thyroid doing, how is the blood sugar doing, and there should be regular monitoring of blood pressure as well. If there is we are being overweight and BMI is high, that also needs to be monitored and the weight needs to be reduced.
Okay, so if you had to if you had to recommend maybe the lowest effort, highest impact change in lifestyle, what would it be, Dr. Kohli? Because, some people say that 8,000 steps, 10,000 steps, or even 12,000 steps reduces your mortality risk significantly. So what is it that you would recommend as a doctor?
See, it depends upon what person likes, which they don't feel burdened to do it. So it has to come naturally and effortlessly. See, it can be as simple as walking 7 to 8,000 steps in a day, or maybe doing some kind of aerobic exercises, or doing some kind of strength training 1 to 2 times a week, or going for a cycling 30 minutes for at least 2 to 3 times a day. So any kind of physical activity which they do regularly and persistently over a period of time will actually help them.
Okay, so you would put exercise at the top of the list?
Yes, exercise, yes. And dietary, definitely the second one, because diet is also very important. We are eating all kinds of processed foods which are having high refined carbohydrates and not eating proteins, especially in our Indian population, which leads to ultimately sarcopenia and low muscle mass, because muscle needs proteins to grow up. And once the muscle mass is less, there are more chances, you're becoming more vulnerable to have infections, you're more vulnerable to have falls, you're more vulnerable to not recover very well from the illnesses, and the cardiovascular as well as your brain health deteriorates because.
Okay, but there is a whole set of people who believe in a plant-based diet and who believe that vegan diet results in longevity as well. So how do you balance the protein part of it there?
So they have to take supplements for that, and they have to be more physically active, and they have to make sure, especially those people who have a family history. So they have to be more physically active, and they even the vegan diet is okay, but then they have for making proteins, they have to take some supplements also. And on top of that, they can go to, I mean, the strength training can be a major part for them so that their muscle mass gets maintained.
Okay, so is strength training possibly more important as we age? If you could just give us more details in terms of how important strength training is and from what age especially.
So strength training is very simple. More strength training means better muscles. Better muscles means we are able to endure more and we age slowly. And the strength training should begin early. Even if, ideally it should begin early, but even if we are in 50s and 60s, we do some kind of a moderate strength training, which can be, the functional training part also without using weights. That also adds up to making muscles, toning up the muscles and falling less sick.
Okay. All right. Well, Dr. Tucker, we've spoken about exercise now, and that probably is one of the top of the list in terms of increasing your longevity. But a typical Indian diet is quite high in terms of carbohydrates. So how important is diet when it comes to aging, or diet when it comes to longevity? And what would you recommend for the Indian diet?
So diet is probably the most important, because depending on what you eat, you will make in the body, and what you don't make in the body, you will accumulate in the body. As my colleague said, proteins are extremely important. In the formative years more, in the later years also important, because if you're doing some strength training, the protein requirement also is high. So you need a significant amount of good first-class protein, which you have to moderate in your diet. You also need non-trans fats. And then the Indian habit of having carbohydrates for everything has to be toned down. I'm not saying don't have carbohydrates. And whatever you have should be easily assimilable and easily expendable. The Indian habit of celebrating everything with sweets is something which is a very crushing phenomena to the body as a hormonal system. It's a very lovely phenomena to the tongue and the eyes and the taste buds. But you have to be careful regarding how you balance the proteins and carbohydrates and fats. And having said that, especially for the aging population, nutritional supplementation, micronutrients, essential supplements, from magnesium to zinc to so many other components are extremely important. And they come into play not necessarily in the age of 50s and 60s, but omega-3 fatty acids, B12, vitamin D3 are all important constituents that you need at every phase of life.
But you must do a possible blood test before you get it done to see what your levels are and go to a physician.
If you do a blood test and you know what your levels are, then you can implement a regime.
Correct.
And if you are punctual and loyal to the regime, you don't need frequent blood tests. After the 5th decade, you need annual tests. But I wouldn't tell my 30-year-old necessarily to go and do a test every year. He can do it every other year.
Now, just, you spoke about celebrations. So one of the other points which is widely spoken about is about how relationships and social connections, in fact, play into longevity. And of course, we have the Harvard study which identifies that. And it is expected to be a top predictor of long-term health, even above smoking alcohol. So how important is social connections for longevity?
Very important. Companionship, camaraderie, social interaction, wanting to be with somebody, belonging somewhere, interacting with different people. It not only stimulates the mind, but the neurotransmitters thereafter go and help in keeping. Remember, a happy person is a healthy person. We have patients in the hospital who are happy, who heal earlier and go home a couple of days early. The same logic implies, rather than a grouchy, solitude, isolated person, a healthy, happy person who mixes, who probably has a shoulder or many shoulders to lean on, to talk with, those interactions are as important as food.
Just a few minutes left, so we have a rapid fire. So I'm going to just ask Dr. Thakkar as well as Dr. Kohli a couple of questions, and if you could just answer them in, maybe a word or so. So Dr. Thakkar, I'm going to ask you first. Aging, can it actually be slowed? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Kohli, one test every Indian above 30 years of age must do.
HbA1c and thyroid levels.
Okay. Dr. Thakkar, one daily habit that adds the most years to life.
Walking.
Okay. And is 8,000 steps enough, or do we really need 10,000 or even 12,000?
8,000 is enough. 7,500 is also enough.
Okay. All right. Dr. Kohli, what's more important for longevity, sleep or exercise?
Both. Sleep early, get up early, and go for exercise.
Okay. One food, Dr. Kohli, Indians must cut down on immediately.
Mithai.
Okay. Dr. Thakkar, fasting, is it a longevity booster or is it just a trend?
Intermittent fasting is a trend. Regular fasting that you do for 12 hours when you eat early and sleep early is healthy.
Okay. One supplement, Dr. Thakkar, that's overrated.
One supplement that's overrated, General B complex vitamins.
Okay. And one supplement that actually works.
Vitamin D.
Okay. And Dr. Kohli, I'm going to end with you. Is longevity expensive, or can most of the gains come from free habits?
It can come from free habits.
Okay. And what would be the top habits?
Watch what you eat, get physical activity going, take less stress, have a good social circle which motivates you, and get your regular checkups done. And yes, it can be, prolonged.
Okay. All right, Dr. Kohli as well as Dr. Thakkar, thank you very much for joining in and speaking with us on CNBC.
Hopefully we'll meet 40 years from now, because we are going to practice what we preach.
Absolutely.
On the same program.
Absolutely. That 100%, Dr. Thakkar. Thank you very much for joining in.